Welcome back. It's a big day for Nintendo with the launch of a new console generation, the Nintendo Switch 2. Global rollout will be staggered, but hundreds of thousands of fans in Japan will be hoping to get their hands on one. CNBC's Kaori Enjoji is one of the lucky ones and joins us now.
Thank you very much, Sri. I shouldn't take all of the credit because here you are. The Switch 2 that everyone has been waiting for. You had to pre-order this, win the lottery for it, get in line, and buy it at 10 a.m. this morning. All of that was done by my amazing cameraman, Futa Nagao. I am just taking credit up for this and holding it up. Look, I feel like today I saw markets in action, market dynamism in action, because as you know, we do this every day on CNBC. Price is where supply meets demand. So this is the slightly cheaper version, the eShop version, which is going for just shy of 50,000 yen in Tokyo. It comes with these nifty controllers that are magnetically attached to the device, and you can put it on these consoles if you want to play by yourself. And since Futa is a diehard gamer, he forked out another $100 roughly for this, which is the Pro console, so you can do even niftier things with this. And this is also the caveat, because this is show and tell, the micro SD Express card with Mario on it. This basically doubles the memory on this by 256 giga, and apparently this looks very innocuous, but once these game consoles start to hit the market in en masse, these are going to be very coveted as well. And why we're talking about this, yes, we're all interested in Nintendo, but it's because a third of these are made in Vietnam. And everything that's made in Vietnam that goes to the U.S. may have a huge tariff slapped on them after this so-called pause is over. So the question was, and Nintendo hasn't answered this, how much are they ramping up and stockpiling this for the U.S. consumer, and how much are they willing to stomach some of the difference in the tariffs once the dust settles on there? And I think the question a lot of the fans in the market, American market, are concerned, because they won't be able to get their hands on this quite yet, is what the markup from those tariffs are going to be in the United States. And I think this is really market dynamism, you might say at its best or at its worst. But they're saying you can play the old games on them. I don't know if you're much of a gamer. I'm really not, to be honest. But he also bought the Mario Kart game as well, the kart, which is apparently one of the coveted. Well, you need a console, you need new games to play on them, right? That's the whole point. So that goes on sale today as well. He's got that as well. You have to download it. So I think I have one of the most coveted pieces of hardware in Tokyo right now. Sri.
I'm sure you do. I'm not much of a gamer, but when I do go to my son's friend's house, then I've known to have a little bit of a dabble on Super Mario Kart. It's very cute and fun. As an expression of soft power, it's very important, isn't it? I remember the late Shinzo Abe popping down a tunnel as Mario and then emerging on the other side as Luigi. Do you think that the Switch 2 can emulate the success of its predecessor? What does it do about projecting Japan's soft power in this environment?
I mean, it's an iconic name, right? Mario is an iconic name. Nintendo is an iconic name. It's been 8 years, so it's been long overdue. I mean, people call this an upgrade, but people are also saying that, maybe 8 years is too long to wait to call it an upgrade. I think soft power has its limits right now. I mean, we know that, and I think some of the technological prowess that Japan enjoyed back when Shinzo Abe was in his heyday and popping out as Luigi has really changed because the dynamics have shifted as well. But having said that, this is a household name, and I think this is the kind of brand that carries well still in overseas markets. But you can be an amazing brand, but if you're getting slapped with a tariff of more than 40%, it's a tough business.
Kaori, what does it tell you about the economic health of the consumer when there's clearly ample and abundant demand to shell out in the region of $500 for a Switch 2, and yet there are some very real cost of living issues associated with the affordability of rice? What's going on there?
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, I mean, let me answer that in two phases. Look, I'm just going to call it what it is. It's a black market for Nintendo products like this. Because yesterday when I went online, there were retailers that were selling this, even though they didn't have their hands on it, at about more than double the price on the internet. And the Nintendo has been trying to clamp down on that because, even if you have the ticket that you won the lottery to buy this, you have to show your ID, and they made it very hard. But the resale value is really what has people talking. So I think that part of the economy, so to speak, I think is a little bit different from reality. But you raise a good point. I mean, if people are willing to pay, let's say, $450 for a game console, why are they lining up to buy this, which is rice? And this rice is very special. I kind of had to, it was hard getting my hands on this because this, as it says, is government stockpiled rice. And what's happening over the last week is the government has decided to release these stockpiles to retailers directly to try and get the price down. Now, I think the difference in that is that this is a luxury. This is a staple. And people are not willing to pay double the price of rice that they were, the same rice that they were 12 months ago. So they've decided to release the stockpile, but this is really old rice. It's 3 years old. Under normal circumstances, my first reaction would be you. But people are lining up for this, and I think that raises the question of mismanagement by the Japanese government, because stockpiling started in '95. You're not technically supposed to release them unless it's an emergency. It definitely hasn't been any natural disaster, but they were very slow to address this, and the reason why they're getting on board right now is because there's an election coming up in July, and rice is always a sensitive matter. But I think at the end of the day, labor costs are going up in Japan. Global warming is a reality. To get this to the consumer goes through a lot of retail chains in Japan. I think this is the key point that people miss. I buy this at the supermarket. Of course, the retailer's adding on a little bit of price to get a profit. But even before that, when the farmer grows this, Japan Agricultural Cooperative, this is basically the farm vote in Japan. It's akin to the National Rifle Association for the Republican Party. So they, before harvest, go to the farmers and say, look, we're willing to pay this much if you'll give us this. So they tack on a little bit. They send it to the wholesaler. That also costs money. The wholesaler then moves it to the retailer. That also costs money. And finally, the retailer gives it to the stores, and then I have to pay it for it. So I think that kind of dynamic is unique to Japan and probably something that needs to be addressed in the long term, because this is a short-term fix.
Also unique and critical to India and the conversation on US-India trade deals. Agriculture potentially is going to be a major stumbling block in that, as I'm sure it is in Japan. Carrie, thank you very much indeed. Great coverage.